Welcome everybody to this week's Higher Education User Group. As you know, Higher Education User Group is an initiative of Salesforce.com. We do have an industry vertical user group for higher education that is the first of its kind in higher ed, though we now have regional groups. This group was designed to be mostly virtual. We meet in person only twice. That's at Higher Ed Summit at Dreamforce. And in the weeks in between each of those events, we meet online. Today, I am so excited that we get to see MassMailer, even more so that Susan from CU Boulder is going to be joining the team from MassMailer to give us the higher ed perspective in using this native platform that gets us around so many of those frustrating governor limits and things like that. Gives us visibility into our kind of email campaign. So I am going to switch the controls over to Madison. And Madison, I'm going to have you do introductions and take it away.
Okay, and okay, and can everybody see my screen? Is it showing up okay?
It is.
Okay, well, thank you, Kathy. And as Kathy mentioned, we're going to be talking about a mass email solution for higher education, specifically for Salesforce. My name is Madison Cloutier. I'm one of the senior account managers here at MassMailer, and I'm going to start off with a little, just some background about the MassMailer in general. Then we have Susan Ulrich from the University of Colorado in Boulder. We'll be talking a little bit about their use case and experience with MassMailer. They've been using it for about 2 years now. And then Siva Devaki is standing by. He'll actually give a demonstration of the product. So with that, I'll start just saying a few words about MassMailer. We've actually been a Salesforce partner for going on over 10 years now. We've done literally over 1,000 Salesforce projects, implementations, and customizations. And one of the things during that time, obviously we've learned a lot about Salesforce and some of the limitations it has. And we have over the past years developed some different AppExchange apps that we've made available to overcome some of the shortcomings and limitations. And one of those, by far, our MassMailer product has been the most popular AppExchange app that we've developed so far. We literally have hundreds of customers and thousands of people using the product or the application, anywhere from some small organizations all the way up to large organizations with hundreds of users and sending millions of emails per month. So we're going to be talking specifically about the higher ed sector today, and with that, just MassMailer and how it can really help. I said there's lots of use cases and things that can be done using it. I'm sure y'all are aware of a number of these. They've been trying to use it, just using some of the standard email capabilities of Salesforce. But obviously with student communications, that's a big area, and Susan will be talking a little bit about how they're using it for that. Student recruitment, donation management, internal employee communications are some big areas where it can really be very helpful to you. And just on a general sense, sending out marketing newsletters and announcements and the like. And one of the really big things that can really help is with the fact that we integrate in with the workflows and process builder of Salesforce, which allows you to track email alerts and tracking. For examples, you can do student application statuses and alerts and the like. And also with things like recruitment and donations. If you're sending out kind of bulk emails to these kind of groups, you can actually automate that process. So based on whether they open it or click on a link inside, you can actually set up workflows to basically go down different paths and respond accordingly. So that's a very big thing to help automate as much as possible for different areas. And some of the major advantages, it is a very easy to use and very scalable. We actually have a pretty wide range of users, some fairly small users, maybe 1 or 2 users, all the way up to hundreds of users sending millions of emails a month. So it is a very scalable, and you'll see in the demo that Siva will do that it's very easy to use, very easy system to use. And the fact that it's a native Salesforce app means that if you're familiar with Salesforce, then using the MassMailer will be very easy for you. Another big advantage is we have the statistics, so that especially in the area of student communications, even employee communication, the fact that you can ensure that emails are being received and opened by the recipients, which is something for verification purposes. Also, the ability to override the opt-outs, especially if you're dealing with students or even employees. They shouldn't have the ability to opt out, so you want to be able to override or take that out. One of the things also we've recently added is drip campaigns. So this basically allows you to set up a campaign, and you can actually, it's very easy then just to add members to that campaign as necessary. And then once they're added to the campaign, they will start receiving the emails associated with it. And then we also provide file attachments. If you have situations where you do need to attach files to emails going out, that is available, and we do support that. Now, obviously, everybody on this call is a Salesforce user, and I'm sure everybody knows that Salesforce is the best CRM out there in the market nowadays. But when it does come to MassMailer, it does have some limitations. One of the big ones we hear is the daily email limits that it has, which obviously restrains a lot of people, especially larger universities and the like. And so we overcome that. Like I said, we have some customers that can send up to 1 million per day if necessary. Also, the statistics that currently are captured by Salesforce are a little bit limited, and so we provide a lot more in that area as far as statistics. And then also, people complain about a lot of emails going to spam or just email delivery issues. And it's mainly because Salesforce, just because of their nature, have to use what they call dedicated IPs for sending those out, which can create some of these problems. And so one of the things we do support is we do support dedicated IPs, so you can get a dedicated IP specifically for you, and that goes a long ways in helping the spam and email delivery issues. Also, Salesforce does not have the ability to track alerts through workflows, which is something we support, nor can they do email preferences and subscription group feature. Basically, what this means is you can have different subscription groups. I mean, you could have a situation where maybe somebody is a student as well as a donor or who knows what, then you could have them in different groups. And if they wanted to unsubscribe from a particular group, they could unsubscribe from that group and not all groups. So that's been a feature a lot of people have asked for and has been very popular. Another issue with the Salesforce email is that you don't have much or any real flexibility when it comes to the sender email address. And with MassMailer, you can basically use any email address you want to from the sender, including custom email fields. And it also applies to your copies and your blind copies. You can also control that also. And then we do have basically Salesforce does not support an HTML email template builder. We do support that as part of MassMailer, and then it does not have really workflow tracking capabilities, which we do support. So some of the major things. I mean, there's a number more, but I think we can get into the specifics of that maybe in the demo or something. And then kind of finally here.
Can I interrupt for just a second, Madison? Can you go back to that slide?
Sure.
Can you go back one slide, please?
One slide, okay, down here?
Yeah, nope. The one where there's challenges with Salesforce.
Okay.
It sounded as if for nearly every single one of these challenges that there is an addressing of that challenge by MassMailer. Is that true, that MassMailer addresses each of these challenges?
Exactly. So we address all these and more. There's even a longer list of things that we actually address. So yes, we do overcome all of these limitations.
I have another question on this. What you do when contact record has more than one email address? Can recipient be any of email addresses on the record, or you are related just to standard email address field?
Oh, no, you can use custom fields. And I don't know, Siva, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, at the time of demo, I'm planning to demonstrate that. The answer is right, what Madison mentioned. So if you have, say, multiple email addresses, you can pick and choose which email address you want to send email to. It's done at the app level that can be configured and changed at any point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this slide? Okay. So just to kind of wrap up on our side then here, basically, as mentioned, MassMailer does overcome all of these limitations and then some. And the big thing that the fact that we are a 100% native Salesforce apps means you can send things directly from the database. That means the statistics and alerts and stuff can go directly back into the database, so you don't have to deal with like a third party, which a lot of these third party email systems use plugins and stuff, and so kind of updating back and forth gets a little bit complex and doesn't always work exactly as it should. And we can work with both leads and contacts. Another thing we support too is opportunities. So if you are using opportunities, maybe for recruitment or donations or whatever, we can support the contact roles within opportunities. Then we also do have developer API support, so if you needed to extend the functionality to better support any kind of unique business needs or you have, we do support that. And like if you maybe want to integrate with a LMS system or something, you're again using the APIs, you can extend that functionality. We also leverage a lot of the standard Salesforce features, such as their native email templates and merge fields. You can utilize that. Also the process builder, which I talked about earlier, and we do support both Classic and Lightning. So with that, that's just kind of a quick overview of what MassMailer is. If there are any questions, I will turn this over to Susan to talk a little bit about their experience at the University of Colorado. So any questions about, just general questions about MassMailer at this point?
Yeah, there is another question. You said you're native to app on Salesforce. How your calls are consuming API calls allowance or limitations around? Do you use them or not? Because you say you're native on the platform.
We're native. There are some API calls that are made. Steven, here again, you want to address that? Yeah. I guess you're talking about some of just the API hits that it takes. So we haven't seen too much problem with that, I think, the way that works. So Siva, do you want to address that?
Right, yeah. I mean, there are always going to be limitations in Salesforce, whatever you try to do, which is very complex, especially when you're trying to integrate with third-party systems. So we have overcome all these limitations that you usually run into when you're sending out mass emails, such as, sending out 1 million emails per day, for example, right? How would you do that? Let's say you're trying to capture the email status events such as opens and clicks, and which is going to be too many in a day. How would you do that? So we certainly ran into limitations, but we kind of overcome all of them through some batch program and putting some, like when it comes to stats, we don't just run them automatically. It is running in a batch sequence after 5 to 10 minutes every day. And if you have thousands of campaigns, for example, it may take a couple of days to really capture the statistics for all of them, but you can always check for any specific campaign. If you want to run the statistic just one, you can do that. We have a button. So we come across limitations as usual, but we have overcome pretty much everything that we have so far.
Yeah, just an extension of my question. If you run, in the case that you used already all the API limits for a day, do you queue it for next day for processing, or what you do in this case?
So there is one that is async job limitation that we ran into, for which we already came up with a solution of batching up the records. So far, none of our customers have complained about API limitations, just because the way we process the jobs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Otherwise, Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Madison. Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Ulrich. I am the lead solution architect for student success at the University of Colorado. And I was part of the selection of MassMailer was part of a larger vetting process for identifying a mass email capability for our advising staff at the University of Colorado. So I'll give you a little bit of background on the project and then talk a little bit about why we selected MassMailer. So as I mentioned, we were looking, believe it or not, we were replacing Chatter as our mass email capability for our advising staff. So a couple things to note, as you all know, our advisors are not technical users in nature. So we are also a customer of Marketing Cloud and a marketing automation platform, but that did not fit the needs of this particular use case. We needed something that was going to be very easy to use for our folks who needed to be marketers but weren't. So just keep in mind our user group. The use case for our advisors were to be able to send messages to, for example, their roster, to talk about ad drop. We use MassMailer to send out academic notification letters. We use it to talk about advising appointments. Here's the hours I'm available. For college-based events, any number of use cases that you can think of for an advisor to have to communicate out to their roster of students. Go ahead and to the next slide there. So we vetted three different products. I'll give you some examples of our requirements. In my mind, the very first would be something that was easy to use. We needed to include an email signature, rich text, merge fields. Some of the more unusual requirements that may apply to other universities were that custom email field that we needed to be able to send to. We also needed a tool that was going to be able to override the standard email opt-out, since these are transactional emails in nature being sent to students. We needed a tool that was going to be able to opt that out. And then reportable. So as you know, Chatter is probably one of the least reportable items on the Salesforce platform. So we wanted to be able to track open rates, you know, not only the ability to send them, but our students opening them and receiving. It also helps with those later conversations of, you know, this email was sent on this date, that kind of thing. So all of that is at their fingertips now. I don't know if there was an additional, is there an additional slide?
Yes.
Madison? Okay.
Here's the benefits and the statistics.
Yep. So really, you know, like I said, we did a very in-depth comparison. And what I liked most about the MassMailer capability was the ease of use. It utilizes standard Salesforce email templates. So a user can go in, we have a sort of a set template for them with their email signature. All they have to do is sort of edit it to the message that they want to send and hit send. We've created a very simple wizard for them to be able to get these out without the heavy technical side of a marketing automation tool. And again, all of that information is now at their fingertips around open rates, sends, that kind of thing. And it's reportable at the advising level, but it's also reportable up. So if you want to go to the next slide, just wanted to share some of the statistics from the University of Colorado. So this is just an average from 2018. We're looking at about 80,000 unique email recipients per month. We have currently about a 63% open click-through rate, which if you think of student emails is pretty darn good. In some of the colleges like engineering, you're going to see an uptick of over 70%. We have about 250 unique emails sent per month from our advising staff and about 140 users. So again, this allows those non-technical advisors to be able to get a quick message out with all of the analytics that you would expect from a marketing automation platform. Again, that's really our use case. If you have any specific, I know I kind of went through that quickly, but if you have any specific questions around the CU use case, I am happy to answer them. Just to give you some insight, we are looking into the new capability around Process Builder and sending some of those automated messages. So we're looking at integrating potentially like with our LMS system and sending out notifications using the new MassMailer functionality related to Process Builder. So while this was our initial use case, we are looking to expand that out, especially with this new Process Builder functionality that I'm sure Ziva will demo for you.
Awesome. Can I interrupt
Susan,
for a second?
Yeah,
Susan?
Any questions? Sure.
And of course, I always have questions. This is Kathy, of course. So Susan, it looks like you have about 140 users who sent emails. Can you talk a little bit about, well, I recognize the challenges with trying to have an advisor and admissions officer, those types use, you know, a professional marketer's tool like Marketing Cloud. But can you talk a little bit about what their experience was with onboarding and what kind of training was required, that type of thing?
Yeah, of course. So I believe we went live in the spring of 2017 with this. And what we did, we actually have a dedicated training resource on our CRM team, but I worked with her on that. And we did, I think it was probably half a dozen sessions that, you know, were open to all academic advisors over probably a period of 2 weeks. And what we did, it was kind of a rolling, I think we used a permission set where once you were trained on the new capability, you were moved off the old functionality. So we you know, obviously we documented it, you know, how the process would work, but also we did probably, I want to say it was maybe a 90-minute user training session where we sort of set them up with that standard template. So like I said, it's a very specific use case, but you know, there's ongoing. So these 140, you know, those are our consistent users. Like I said, we have those academic notifications, so the probation notifications that go out once a term that come from like the dean's office. So as Madison mentioned, another nice feature of the MassMailer is the ability to send on behalf of. So while most, you know, 95% of our emails come directly from the advisor, there's also the ability to have those that appear to be coming from, you know, the academic dean or someone in the specific college. But I would say the training, you know, it was, you know, training is ongoing, but it really, the application itself is lightweight enough that most of our users got it pretty quickly. Is that what you're trying to get a sense of?
I was, thank you.
Okay.
90-minute training, that's incredible. You know, it's not, you know, day-long training or anything like that, or a week-long training. So that's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
So any other questions for Susan? If not, we'll turn it over to Ziva. So I guess, Kathy, if you could make Ziva the presenter, we'll have a demo.
Thank you, Madison.
There you go.
Okay, thank you so much, Kathy, for the opportunity. Unfortunately, I didn't have my intro slide there. This is Ziva Devakia. I'm the founder of MassMailer. And I'm happy to answer any technical questions or anything about the functionality. So just feel free to interrupt and just let Kathy know. I can stop and answer any questions. I hope all of you can see my screen here. I'll try to maximize it a little bit.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So as Madison mentioned, it's a native Salesforce app. So the tabs that you see here are, they all look like native Salesforce screens. So once you install MassMailer, you would see several tabs. I would try to go through pretty much everything, but we'll see how the time would work, because I want to leave some time for the questions mainly. I would see setup is a few setup steps that you go through. Once you set up, you have campaigns tab, because we provide functionality of sending mass emails through campaigns. And you see the leads and contacts and accounts. These four are standard tabs of Salesforce, as you know. But if you have renamed leads and contacts and accounts for your own organization, that is still okay. The functionality would still work the same as long as you're leveraging the standard objects. So we do let you send emails from lead if you just want to send out a one-off email, and same with contacts. And if you ever have moved out to person accounts for some reason, we do support person accounts as well. And you actually see a tab here that says one-off email. If you want to send one-off email from leads and contacts, you can just turn it off. Otherwise, you can also send one-off email from here. You may ask, what is the difference between one-off email of Salesforce and MassMailer? So we have 2 CC, BCC functionality, and we have the sender information that can be changed, meaning like you can send it from anyone and you can have a reply to. We also have the advanced email template capability, and we have the schedule capability as well. And you would see this tab called Mass Email Wizard. So this is basically a little different from the way you can send the campaigns. So here you have an option to select the lead, contact, and user, and send mass emails. Versus campaign, you can send mass emails via the leads and contacts at the same time. And you may see some more tabs, such as template builder, through which you can actually create your own advanced template using MassMailer template builder. I'll show this in a moment. And then you would see statistics. So this is basically to capture the open rate and click rate, so on and so forth, including the spam and unsubscribes and all that. And there are a few other tabs that may or may not be relevant, because the object tabs such as email status can be looked at through the report also. Okay. And we do have something called MassMailer Email Monitor, which is a brand new feature that we released. I'll show that once we go through the standard email functionality. All right, so let's start with the email wizard. This may be most relevant for most of the customers that we have, along with the campaigns. So these two are kind of used most of the times. So here you have an option to select lead, contact, or user. For example, you're sending out emails to contact. So let's say you say contact, and you have an option to create your own view by clicking on this particular link. And then you can give filters. So you just give a name, for example, demo, and then you can make it visible to only to you, or also you can make it visible to the entire profile. And then you give a filter criteria. It could be multiple filters. If you have multiple filters, you can add up to 10. You can also add the filter logic, such as, it doesn't need to be 1 and 2 and 3 kind of a thing. It can be 1 or 2 or 3. So you can add the filter logic by clicking on this particular link. Yep. And once you do that, you just have to save it. Before saving it, if you want to preview the results, you can also do that. And then once you're satisfied, you click on the save button to save the results. Yep. So this is how you filter or create your recipients list. And if you already created something, you can also select it from the list that we already have. Yep.
So before you go on, can I interrupt?
Cool. Yeah, please go ahead.
It looks to me like you can build on the fly your mailing list. You don't have to, for instance, build a report and then add it to campaigns to be able to consume that. Is that correct?
So the campaign feature is it's going to work the way you explained. You can build a report and add it to campaigns, or you can add it on fly. But what we are doing here is not using the campaign object. We have a wizard kind of a feature. I think it works similar to MassMailer, the Salesforce Mass Email feature, but with advanced capabilities and also bypassing all the limits that you may see in Salesforce.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure. Okay, so let's pick March 1. All right, so this is our recipient list for the sake of testing today. And I forgot to mention that we have a feature called email verification. If you ever wanted to verify emails, we don't do it automatically unless you push the button. So it would go through our email verification engine and make sure that the emails are valid. But most of the times, if you're sending it to students and if you already validated those emails, that is fine. You don't have to do it all the time. But we strongly advise that you do it at least maybe every 6 months or so, just to take out any bad emails that you may have in the system. Okay. Let's go to the next step by clicking on that button. And here,
just
all
we're doing
question
about verification. Sorry.
Sure.
Hello?
Yeah, please.
When you verify, do you verify like from marketing standpoint that your email must have unsubscribed option and all this worldwide prescribed recipes around, or it is? What can you tell us more about what you're verifying there?
Yeah. So email verification. So a few things that we do behind the scenes. Is this a real domain? Is there a syntactical error? Is this a valid email if it's a real domain? Is it catch-all? Sometimes you may have info at something, or sales at something, something like that. Is it that kind of an email? Is it a Gmail kind of a thing, like a personal email or a company email? Is it a spam? Maybe sometimes you may get spam traps. You never know, because people are submitting your forms and you may end up getting some spam emails in your system. So we also track spam. We also track if it is unknown for some reason, the server does not even respond. Most likely it's a dummy email. We also check if the email is, short-lived, because some people create an email address which is maybe meant for a short time of period, like a month or so. Is it that kind of an email? So we go beyond the standard syntactical checks that Salesforce does and give you a real validation results. So you can do it in a mass way, meaning you can check all the mass emails. You can actually validate in a mass email fashion, or you can actually validate at the lead or contact level. Okay. And I'll show you by verifying one of the leads or contacts, and you would understand how it works. Yeah.
Thank you.
Here, as Madison mentioned, so we do support the Salesforce native templates. So if you have designed your email templates using some HTML editor outside of Salesforce, that's fine. Store them as a regular custom HTML template in Salesforce using all the standard merge fields. Now the Lightning, we are not supporting the Lightning merge fields yet. The standard native classic email template merge fields we are supporting right now. And we have that capability of template builder, as I mentioned. That's called advanced editor. So there's a little difference between the way basic editor and advanced editor works. So for an example, I'm going to show you the standard HTML template in this demo, and in campaign we can switch to the advanced. Yeah. So I picked a folder that's a standard Salesforce folder, and then I'm going to go pick HTML. So this HTML designed outside of Salesforce, so that it is much more like a customized fashion. So we bring up that here into the standard basic editor, and we'll let you modify it if needed. If it's a text-based, yes, you can modify. If it's HTML, like if you're trying to edit HTML, we always suggest that you do it outside of whatever the HTML editor that you're using, and then import it back. If it's a small text thing that you're changing, yeah, you can do that right within MassMailer. So let's say you pick this, and then you go to the next step of more control information for your campaign, such as the campaign name. We call it as mass email name in the scenario. This is editable, even though we pre-populate with the date and time. And you have an option to do BCC sender and global BCC. These two are set up at the time of setting MassMailer. You have an option to go to the email settings, wherein which you can have like the global sender. This is only one global sender that we support right now, but in future we are going to expand this. And you can also have a global BCC. Or you can also have, you want to default the BCC sender. If you check this, that particular checkbox also would be set on this particular screen where I was showing. Yeah. Okay. That's about the BCC. And in the sender option, you have a few options here, such as global sender, contact owner, organization-wide address, and the logged in user. And this is editable. You can edit this. If you want to send this on behalf of someone, you can change the sender. You can also change the reply to. And let's say you want to say, hey, I have a global sender that I have defined. You just select that, and then we pick the global sender and then send the email. You have an option to do the contact owner as well. Or if you have defined any organization-wide email addresses in Salesforce, you can actually select that too. So let's go to the global sender. And if you ever define any email group, such as, let's say student communication is one of the email preferences group that you have, and course information is another email group that you may have. I'm just throwing some examples, I'm not sure. So if you ever needed to have something like that, you can define those groups. Again, in the MassMailer setup, when you go to tracking settings, we have a section where you can actually define them. So right now, I think we have something like newsletter, product news, job posting, youth program. So you can define these subscription groups, and then you can pick and choose one of the groups from the drop down. But if you think, no, I want to send it to all, then you just say none. And then the delivery options are two other options that we have here. You can schedule it on a specific date and time, or you can actually send it now. And we also have a way to send a test email before you send out the real email. You can also do a test email by clicking on the button. So let's just go ahead and click send now, and then submit. So that will basically send out the mass email. And you can hide this, the little ad that is showing here. So it's demo instance, so we did not hide it. So once this is done, the next step for you is to receive the email and also check the statistics. And the stats are stored right here on this object called MassMailer email statistics. And we create an object. So everything is native. So if you want to report on this statistics, you can always do it because it's a native object, custom object. And you can see that it has certain, the mass email information that we just sent out, all the meta information. And also we capture the statistics on the object, as well as we show it runtime. Meaning, so anytime you come to the screen, we retrieve the real-time stats and display it here. Or you can also see it on the object right there. You can also drill down by clicking on this particular link if somebody opened and who actually opened it. Yeah. And we do, yeah.
This is Susan. I just wanted to speak to, and if any of the other higher ed users are concerned about storage around these objects within the administrative panel that Siva has shown you. There is an ability to go in there and delete these records after a certain duration of time. So we are actually utilizing, because storage is always an issue, we're actually deleting these records and only keeping the campaign member statistics because it's half the storage. So I just wanted to share that if folks were thinking that there's a lot of storage involved, because that's another issue that we personally experience with like Marketing Cloud and that kind of thing. So if it's a non-issue, that's fine, but I wanted to make sure that folks knew that there's the ability to delete these after a certain duration within the admin panel.
Yeah, when we are on this subject, I
have
another topic just to address. You use Salesforce database for everything in your statistics. Do you have some other storage that you use to collect response and then do bulk update using API to the records in Salesforce? Or you just use Salesforce database? Yeah.
So it's all Salesforce, stored in Salesforce. I think maybe you're asking where do we really capture the statistics from? So behind the scenes, we use SendGrid email platform. SendGrid got acquired by a company called Twilio recently. So it's a very reliable platform, millions of users using the platform. So that's the email platform that we use behind the scenes to send emails. And then we constantly retrieve the statistics from SendGrid storage back into Salesforce and then store it back.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you. Another question on this. How much of privacy data you have stored in this data residence, that we need to know about? Like what you have there. First name, last name, email address, something else, or nothing else?
No, we store only the email addresses. That's only short-lived, meaning SendGrid keeps the data only for 3 days and then it just wipes off everything. So it's a short-lived. So I mean, imagine you're using your own email server in-house, and that's hosted in Amazon Cloud or somewhere. Something similar. So you will be getting your own SendGrid account. So we made it in such a way that you have your own data with you under your own account. So we don't store anything in MassMailer servers. So you will be provisioned a SendGrid account, and that's what you're going to set up on MassMailer. That way you have the complete privacy, and you will be also managing your own DNS records when it comes to sending out emails. So you have to do a little bit of a setup to make sure your email domains are authenticated. That's all done by you as well. So we just provision the cloud SendGrid account for you.
Okay, thank you.
So I was just going to say that, so we always append this unsubscribe at the bottom of the email. If somebody clicks on it, we actually capture that unsubscribe event and store that back on the contact or lead object in Salesforce. And those would get suppressed automatically in future. Yep. Now, going back here, so we talked the contact or the lead, so you can easily report on that. And we also store the actual the activity history. The storing activity history is done only once, meaning only one per mass email we store the activity history. And then, as I mentioned, we capture any unsubscribes into email opt-out. Anything that is invalid email, spam report, or blocked or bounced, If it is a hard bounce, then we capture that as an invalid. That way, these would get basically suppressed in any future emails. And this is where we store the verification results, whether it is valid or invalid, and what time it got verified. You can actually trigger the email verification at contact level by clicking on this button, or you can also do it at the campaign level or the mass email level, and then you get to know whether the emails are valid or not. And any invalids, we automatically suppress them. You don't have to do anything, right? So we just verified this again, and it's valid. Okay. Now, any questions so far before I move on to campaigns?
So maybe this is a little in the weeds, but I do have a quick question. So I love how dynamic that is, and that you can override opt-outs. But when it's a true opt-out, that wizard that you showed us earlier allows you to save other filtered lists, right? So other lists, and reuse them. Is that also dynamic? Does that respect those true opt-outs that aren't overridden if you have previously saved that list? Is it updated, for instance?
So for the existing data, if you're asking, if you already have email opt-out flagged for any contact or lead, we honor that and we suppress them. So we go by the field update. And if you're asking about the subscription groups, meaning like if you have subscription groups defined, such as student communication and all of that, we store the suppression list under subscription group, unsubscribe groups. So this is where we store all the unsubscribe groups, and each group will have its own suppression list. I believe I may not have a list. Okay, there is one. Yeah. So this particular email address is unsubscribed from this particular group, and we store that right here because we can't have like this on the contact or lead field because it's the data that we capture for every subscription group. So we have a custom object in which we store them. But ultimately, if you're trying to send an email to this particular email, which is not globally unsubscribed, but they unsubscribed only to this particular subscription group, then in that scenario, only when you're sending email to this newsletter subscription group, then this email won't get the email. So that's how it works. It's basically one is the global and other one is the subscription group level.
Thank you for that. Okay. That's helpful. Thanks.
Now, moving on to campaigns. So campaign works similar manner, the way the email wizard works. The only difference is that we leverage the native Salesforce campaign feature. So let's say we call this as a campaign group. All you need to do is just give the name of the campaign. And then, so by default, Salesforce has this campaign member status values, such as responded and sent. And with MassMailer, as you have seen, we capture pretty much all the status values, for which you have to click on this button, set member status, one time, anytime you're creating a campaign. So this particular piece of functionality has been kind of customized for Colorado University. Susan was explaining. They have built a wizard on top of campaign, and they straight away go to the campaign control. That way user does not have to really click on that button, which you can also do it. So now, if I click on this view all, you would see that we have added such as click, bounce, deferred, delivered, dropped, invalid, new, open, processed, spam report, unsubscribe, a lot of events that we capture, various ones, yeah? So the next step for you is to add the members. So this is exactly what Kathy was asking, how do we really add campaign members? So it's a standard way. You can do it through import leads and contacts, and you can also do it from a report if the report is based on the leads or contacts, or you can just select it from here. You can search through them and then add it. So there are many ways to add the emails to, the campaign members to your campaign. Okay. So for the sake of demo, I'm just gonna add them quickly here. And the most important thing that you need to remember is when you're adding campaign members to any campaign that needs to receive emails, make sure that they are in the new status, because we always designate anyone new, meaning they never received the email. Yep. And then submit. So we got 2 members that are added to the campaign. And now the next step is to go through the schedule via MassMailer. The schedule via MassMailer looks similar to the other screen. So pretty much you will have the same user functionality. So here again, if you want to change it, you can change the from name to send it on someone else's behalf, and same email group. And here, if you want to talk about advanced editor, so you select the advanced editor, which will bring up drag and drop kind of a functionality, which I can show it to you in a different, like a tab, how to create this. So you can see that you have this, the text components. If you want to add more rows, you can add rows, drag and drop them, and then you can have an image on any of these blocks, and then you have a button. You can have social footer if you want to add. So for example, you have a footer, and you say, hey, this is going to be my footer, and I want to have all the social icons, and change the links for the social icons. All of this cool stuff you can do it. So basically the creation of email template becomes very easy, right? Or if you already created an email template in your folder, so let's say I pick up one of the existing ones, the advanced template folder, and then I pick up the template from there, and it's just going to load up the advanced email that I already created earlier. And then you can also just go change this if you wanted by adding anything. Yep. So once you're done that, 2 steps you need to do. Make sure that you click on the save. So this is more of a technical dependency because it's all running in the browser. You need to save it to the editor first, and then you save your campaign itself by clicking on that button called save. Now your campaign is ready pretty much because you got the recipients and you got the email template ready. Now the next step is to schedule via MassMailer again, and you have 2 campaign members, and let's say any of them are invalid or opted out, we suppress them automatically. You would not see, let's say there are 3 and out of which 1 is opt out, you would only see 2 of them. And here you have an option to send a test. It will send it to the user, but if you have more than 1 people that you want to receive the test email, you can create campaign member with the first name test. All of them will receive a test. You can schedule it later by clicking on this button, or send it now by clicking on the send now. Schedule later will give you a kind of a way to schedule this on a specific date and time. You select it, you basically check this box and say, hey, I want to send it at so-and-so time. You can do that and then save it, and that'll get scheduled. Yeah. I'm not sending it now, so I want to kind of show you the schedule functionality. Now, where do we store the campaign, the results? Yeah. So it's on the campaign object. So that's how it is a little different from the wizard. You can see the statistics here, total, invalid, and request, deliver, clicks, opens, all of that gets stored here. And also we store the MassMailer status values right here. And also every campaign member will have its own status, meaning like anytime they clicked on something, this status will become click. If they open, it becomes open. So the latest, whatever the latest status is, that's what is captured here. But we capture all the events on the campaign as well as those are also related to the leads or contacts. Okay, and leads are also similar to contacts. It will also have the same thing, meaning the same related objects. and it'll have the activity history and email status, the campaign history, which campaign it's related to. All of that is shown right there. And if there's any verification that you're done, that's also shown here. So a great functionality that you can have with this standard objects, and that's the reason why we picked campaign. And just to touch base on a few of additional utility buttons that you see here, we have something called clone. You can actually clone campaign, which will actually clone only the good campaign members to the new one, along with the template with the status new. So it becomes handy. And if you ever wanted to verify emails to the campaign level, you can do that. And you can also reset campaign member status to new if you ever want to reuse that. And if you want to unschedule any mass email, you can do that. And if you want to remove duplicate campaign members, you can do that by clicking on this. We always keep the latest one, and then rest of them gets deleted. I think we are almost top of the hour. I know we have so many features. So template builder, I quickly will just show the screen. I think I kind of showed it to you how you can drag and drop. So we have a separate form or a page where you can actually load up the template builder and then drag and drop everything and then save it. So you have save to Salesforce button. Once you saved everything, your images and everything got dropped in, and then if you want to save the template, you can save it to Salesforce folder. Yep. Before I miss the chance to talk about the process builder, which is very important. I mean, you have seen the email alerts, workflow email alerts to Salesforce. What is great about MassMailer email alerts, right? You know, everybody asked that question. So in two ways. One is, let's say if you ever wanted to send a series of emails or a sequence of emails to set of recipients, we have come up with a feature through which you can actually put all your campaign members into a campaign, meaning a campaign member gets created, and then you can have the drip criteria for a specific campaign this campaign member belongs to, and then you can have immediate action defined. So this particular example says don't do anything immediately, but after 1 hour the campaign member gets created, I want to invoke my drip one with the same object, which is a campaign member, and after a few days I want to send another drip or another drip email, which is drip 2, and you can also do any other tasks if you wanted, because it's a standard Salesforce functionality, such as creating a task or updating a record. You can do all of that. How does the drip one look like? So drip one is, yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, that is sweet to see. I know that we don't think about using Process Builder as much as we should. This is a great example.
Thank you so much. I think we have 2 more minutes left. I'll quickly show this. Drip one would have the criteria. Again, you know, what the criteria you want to use, leverage to send out the drip. And here you can see that we are using, you're using MassMailer campaign member email, the alert class, that's called Apex class. And they're defining what is the from address and what template you're going to use. And also by default, we use the standard email of a campaign member. So this is how it works on the campaign. But if you can imagine, let's say if you're leveraging opportunity or a case object, you want to send a case alert. How would you do that? So you can do that, email alert to case object, same thing. Case gets created, and you may have certain criteria, and then you can create a campaign member, and then you can set a schedule to take an action. So, you can imagine the possibilities are too many. The fundamental difference is that we have the trackability, opens and clicks and unsubscribes. That's number one thing. You can also change the from address to anything. So the from address could be anything, which is a limitation in Salesforce email alerts. We have that. And we also get to see the statistics. So that's the power of Process Builder feature through which you can actually send mass emails. And we have the standard reports. Most of the people ask this. Since it's a standard native Salesforce app, we have come up with the reports that you can actually look at. Those are, again, standard Salesforce reports on top of MassMailer. So anytime you want to report on certain things, you can do that. It will start with MassMailer, and it's under a folder called MassMailer report. Yeah.
Perfect.
I know it's 8 o'clock, top of the hour. So any questions?
It is top of the hour, but before I let you go, before I let you go, and I want to be respectful of people's time, but I would love to hear what your pricing model is. Is it per user per month? Is it for every user in the org? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Kathy, if you'll make me the presenter again, I'll put up the pricing slide. Make me the presenter, please. So basically, there's two components to the pricing. One is the number of users. And this does not necessarily the number of Salesforce users. These are the number of users that will actually be using the MassMailer. But we do have a tiered pricing from 1 to 5, 6 to 50, and then over 50. So there's a price per user. And then the other component is the number of emails that will be sent per month, whether you plan to send 100,000, 200,000, million, whatever the number may be. So those are the two main pricing components. So basically, when people are looking for quotes, we say, well, how many people will actually be using MassMailer, and how many emails do you plan to send per month? And then based on that, that's what the price is based on. Now, we do offer some discounts for higher ed, as well as we do have discounts for annual billings. And then we've mentioned there are some add-ons, and Siva talked about the verify capability. You buy basically some credits for that, so you can do the verifications. We have an email monitor. You can also get additional IP addresses if you like, and we also have some different support packages depending on what the specific needs are.
Awesome. This was absolutely worth going over our time on. I do want to say thank you so much. I appreciate not only you bringing this to the user group, but including Susan as well. Susan, thanks for your contributions here. That was really helpful to give us context. I will be sure to post the recording in our chatter group so that all can see it. And I appreciate you ending with a contact slide so that we can reach out to you if we have questions or would like a demo for our own team. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Really appreciate all of the time and attention, and great job on the session, our MassMailer folks and Susan as well from CU Boulder. Thanks everybody. See you next week.
Thank you for the opportunity, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.